All right, we are on episode 9 of the Residents Complete Discography, going through all their stuff, and we are now going through their, they just started doing CD-ROM games. So let's just jump right in here. In October of 1994, The Gingerbread Man came out. This was... Well, originally it was just going to be an album. They had already finished the album, but since the Freak Show album had recently become a CD-ROM, they're like, wait a minute, we could probably make this do more stuff. So, they got some company to work on it and basically told them, do whatever you can. And the CD-ROM came out. I've never actually played this one because, as I mentioned in the last episode, the CD-ROMs will no longer work with any modern computer. I think you need something that runs like Windows 95. Maybe XP will still run these, but maybe I'll try to throw this in my laptop and see what it does. If so, I will edit that in here. But okay. So the album is really great. I love this album. When it came out, I didn't quite like it as much as Freak Show. I would say it's probably as good. It is a darker album. Going through a lot of different characters again, much like Freak Show, but this time kind of a more personal thing, people dealing with different things, whether it's paranoia about your children or the sold out artists making lame ass copycat art and making lots of money off of it, or the aging loser ex rock star. It's dark, it's awesome. It's grown on me, and it's not quite as catchy as Freak Show, but it's a really good album. For a long time, it was only available on CD. It did finally get put on vinyl in recent years, so that is great. Just like Our Finest Flowers, I did actually also have a 2LP version of this planned out, but that was before other people kind of took over the whole thing, but that's all right. I'm happy to have it. Game I've never played. I love the different artwork, and you can get these pretty cheap. It's not playable, so that's up to you if you want to buy this for a box. I bought it for a box. But just make sure, if you're going to look for these to buy yourself one, almost every seller just uses a stock image of this, but really they're just selling the jewel case. I don't think I've ever opened this up, but so if you're going to buy one, make sure you message them and ask if it comes in the large box, because 9 times out of 10, or even more than that, they don't actually have the box, and that's what you're buying this for. This album is the first to have a lot of guests on it. It's also the first time we hear a new female vocalist for them that will become a large part of the Residents. This is their debut on this one. I'm not sure, but I think Lori Amat might also be on this one. Should have did some research before this video, but I did not. Then you have the new female vocalist. You have Todd Rundgren is 2 of the songs are actually him. Lots of guests on here. The singing resident, I think, is only on 1 song on here. And this is what I was kind of mentioning in the last episode, where this episode is weird. There's a strange lack of singing resident, and that's why I cut up these episodes the way they are and did not have this with the Freak Show one. So yeah, this is the first time where there's a sort of a lack of singing resident. We're going to see that this whole episode. This album was recently put out by Cherry Red in a 3-disc thing. Has some, early sketches. Also there's the whole classic line, maybe if I put a bullet in my brain, they'd remember me like Kurt Cobain. That was changed at the last minute because that had just happened. So they actually changed the lyrics real quick before this was released. I'm not sure if this belongs in this episode or not. I'm getting mixed stories about this one. But this is Night of the Hunters. So depending what you believe. One story is this was recorded like between 93 and 94. They're working on some album called That Stab Called Night, which was about the effects of darkness or something. And much of that ended up becoming the Hunters album. But then I also read that that's kind of made up bullshit. So I'm not really sure if this was recorded 93, 94, or if it's like some from that era and some recorded in 2007 when this came out. So I don't know. But I'm talking about it now. But yeah, some parts are definitely in Hunters and a lot of it is not. This still sells for quite a bit for being just a double CD. This is still Ralph America. I mentioned them, how they had good hand-numbered limited edition things. So I finally picked this up again. I used to have it. I picked it up again for this video series. I don't like it as much as I remember. It's really long, and There are cool parts. That's why I have a Post-it note, because I'm old and I put Post-it notes on things about what tracks are actually stuck out to me. But yeah, a lot of it I thought was kind of mediocre. And if it is from those years, I understand why it was never released. But it also kind of has a vibe like very Postcards from Patmos, which we'll get to later on during the Bunny years, which is like when this was released. So I do think, yeah, maybe some of it came from 93, 94, but definitely a lot of it from later. So I'll probably mention it in that episode too. But yeah, Night of the Hunters. In February 95, the actual Hunters soundtrack came out. So, like Discovery Channel or something had the Residents do a soundtrack for a series called Hunters, The World of Predators and Prey. I got this a long time ago, and it didn't really grab me. But in revisiting it, I enjoyed it a lot. I listened to this after Night of the Hunters, and I actually think this is a lot better because it's actually edited down and put together like an album. It's not everything, which I keep mentioning sometimes. Everything shouldn't be released, you know. There's the Residents have always been very great at editing, from going back to their tape edits and stuff like that, to, you know, knowing how to trim things down and make them great songs and albums. But yeah, in these current years, it's just here's everything. But yeah, this all instrumental, as was Night of the Hunters. No singing resident Night of the Hunters, no singing resident here. Yeah, decent instrumental stuff. Note, also in 1995, there was the Freak Show live in Prague. Not going to bother with that one because that is not actually the Residents. It was a hired band. So yeah, they're kind of behind it and hired them to do it, but it's like hiring a cover band. It's exactly what it is. So I do not consider it a Residents release in any way. There was one actual Residents Freak Show, and I forgot to mention in the last episode because I forgot that, yeah, there's the Prague shows that are not the Residents, and then there's Ty's Freak Show, which was the one time they did actually perform. the Freak Show stuff. Yeah. In November 95, their third CD-ROM comes out, The Bad Day in the Midway. And this is by far their like deepest, coolest, biggest game. Again, you're walking through a carnival. You're trying to avoid like the plague. Everyone you meet, you come across all these different characters, and everyone you meet, you can hit a button and then you become them, and then you're seeing stuff through their eyes, and you can walk around as them. So depending who you are and where you go, different things might happen. Very cool. More Jim Ludke animation, as was the Gingerbread Man one. Again, this will not play. And again, almost everyone you find online, they're going to use a stock image of this cool box, but really you're just going to get this. So make sure you ask, hey, does it come in a big clunky box? Because even though a ton of these are in the United States, I just got this from Europe because it's the only one I could find in the box. And then it was also released as just an album. In April 96, it came out on CD as Have a Bad Day. I remember buying this when it came out at Exclusive Company in Greenfield. And I was there with my high school friends. We were all into the punk rock. And I remember one of them, I believe Mr. Indie rock star Nathan said, was like, what the fuck is that? If you're in the 90s, if you were living in the 90s and you saw this on the shelf, it does look like it might be a shitty like Korn album or something. Have a Bad Day. It sounded kind of corny. But yeah, I was like, no, that's The Residents. I'm not sure how familiar he was. I had been listening to Freak Show for a long time, but I was like, apparently they have a new album. I'm going to try it out. I had no idea that it was a game. I did like it, but again, it's at this point, the MIDI sequenced generic sounds are getting a bit played. They've been doing this since like 89, 90. They started really doing these MIDI sequenced digital synths with realistic sounds instead of interesting analog synth sounds or interesting acoustic instruments, which they used to use, or guitars. It's just all this MIDI sequence stuff. And I did just re-listen to this, and I do like it, especially the second half, because since it's a soundtrack of this game, it kind of starts more lighthearted, and the kind of darker, cooler songs are more towards the end of it. But I do like this, and the Singing Resident does pop up, I think, in only like one track again. Yeah, and it's funny. You're listening to this whole album, and then all of a sudden later in the album, you hear him like sunny day, and you're like, oh, the Singing Resident, there he is. So yeah, we're looking for Randy. Where is he? That's the whole theme of this episode. He dips his toe in, and then he disappears again. I'm not sure. Someone may have like taken all the files out of here and made some sort of download. I have a vague memory of that happening. If so, someone chime in on the comments. I'd love to be able to play this again. There are like emulators, you can put stuff on your computer that makes it so you can play old CD-ROMs. But when you do that, it opens in a real tiny window, and that is not, for some people that's good enough. It's not for me. I mean, you have to see this in a whole screen. It's a beautiful game. Watching it in a small kind of glitchy window just doesn't do it justice. So if anyone has like been able to take the files and make a new thing that runs on a modern computer, let me know. I'd like to run through it again. I'm in the middle of editing this video down, and I just realized I totally forgot to mention something very important. So here's a crappy edit in the middle of the video. Bad day on the Midway. You're gonna hear traffic driving by and birds. Bad Day on the Midway was a really big hit and won awards, and to the point where HBO actually wanted to make it into a series with David Lynch directing it. So that is absolutely the biggest miss in the Residents discography here. Way more than part 3 of the Mole trilogy or the American Composer series or whatever. Biggest miss here. Supposedly David Lynch, he actually looked at it. One story is David Lynch said he couldn't make a long withstanding series from the material, but also I remember back in the day hearing that there's also some butting of heads, so I don't know for sure either way, but yeah, could have been a David Lynch show. Would have been real awesome.
Are you ready? It's you again.
Yoshi! And Oscar!
Before the taste of human waste.
They were working on a 4th game called I Murdered Mommy, but it never happened. So a couple things happened. First of all, the CD-ROM market, which, was so cool to people like the Residents that were into new technology and being able to do different things with their albums, was kind of already crashing. Computer technology moves way too fast and things become obsolete way too fast. Besides that, Jim Ludke died, who did their animation. Sorry, I forget what year he died, but that was a huge blow. So the I Murdered Mommy game never got past some plans, some game ideas and sketches, stuff like that. But the music they're working on for it did eventually get released as this cool Ralph America limited edition CD once again. In November of 2004, this was finally released. Should be numbered. Oh yeah, number 894, Ralph America number 18. These were like I said before, the Ralph America CDs were very cool. Nice packages. Comes with a nice book with pictures of the game idea. I do like this one. I just also re-listened to this, and I think I like it more than Bad Day in the Midway, except Bad Day in the Midway is actually finished, so it has all the, the character actors, dialogue, and a little bit of singing. Whereas I think this is totally instrumental. I'm having a little brain fart on that, but yeah, more of the same kind of music. I do like it. But at this point, it's several years of that kind of thing. This also was reissued on a crappier CD. I recommend these aren't terribly expensive. I highly recommend just buying the better pressing of it with the nicer book and the nicer packaging. In May 1997, Pollux Christie comes out. It was just a very limited edition CD through Ralph America. I think they did a run of only 400 copies. They instantly sold out, so they did another 400 copies. And then they forgot all about it for a long time. Kind of gimmicky, instrumental, mediocre MIDI thing. So the whole story is this is supposedly written by Ensenada. Like back in the 70s, they always were talking about Ensenada and how he's the one teaching them music or something. And this is all like supposedly he wrote this in like the 30s with like blank parts within it that you're supposed to add, something current. And it's all about, kind of copying people's stuff and making your own thing with it, which is a very Residence thing. It's always been a very Residence thing. So yeah, a lot of this is like classical stuff, but then with more like current stuff. A lot of TV themes end up being in this, but I really didn't like this when it came out. Well, when it first came out, it was so rare that no one heard it, and then there was a snippet of it in a compilation that came out that we'll talk about in a second. So I was just like, I always felt very blah about it. Psychophon Records did eventually put it out on vinyl. That's why I have this. Again, they are one of the only ones that do real nice Residence vinyl these days. It is a nice package. I did re-listen to it. I like it a little bit more than I used to, but it is still just, yeah, at this point, 1997, I feel like the MIDI sequenced and nothing else music has become very sterile. And well, also this is instrumental, so you don't even have singing resident. You don't have singing resident on this. You don't have singing resident on I Murdered Mommy. He's only on one track, I think, on Bad Day on the Midway. So yeah, there's a lot of this just MIDI sequenced digital romplers, and that's it. No fucking guitars, no nothing. And I think that's why 90s Residents gets a bad rap. Excuse me. But it's not all, I mean, there's great albums. The last episode, I love all that stuff. But yeah, here it's getting a little tired. I do, I won't be getting rid of this, but yeah, not their best stuff here. And I will talk about one more release. In June 97, this very cool 4-disc box set, Our Tired, Our Poor, Our Huddled Masses, came out. I did play this a couple times for like singles that I no longer have. I think Earth versus the Flying Saucers. But yeah, a very cool 4 CD set. One thing that's annoying is the discs, the sleeves don't seem to say what disc they are. That's annoying. You have to take the disc out. Okay, that's Washington. All the discs are named after presidents. Washington, Jefferson, and they go through the whole resident's career. Lincoln, and finally, okay, I got to remember, that's the one I want. Roosevelt. The Roosevelt disc is all stuff, like rare stuff, super rare stuff, and stuff that's never been released before. Comes with a nice book. There was also a slimmed down 2-disc version that was more readily available. That's the one you would see at like record stores. I feel like this one didn't really get sold in the U.S. I never found it in the U.S. It's a Euro Ralph release, right? So Europe got the cool 4-disc version. The U.S. got sort of a crappy 2-disc version. But yeah, the Roosevelt disc is awesome. You got all this unreleased stuff, including over 10 minutes of the Thrown Away Man album that we talked about in the 80s, that I think is one of the biggest losses, is not finishing that album. That album seems great. And yes, Siren Song of the Shrunken Head. There's a 6-minute version in this set. Later on, they reissued just the Roosevelt disc in a really cool wooden box, but they slimmed that. They cut like a couple minutes off of that, and really lame. So you absolutely need the 4-disc version of this set just to have that awesome track, which I recommend. Also, Ugly Beauty is from that. That's 4 minutes. There's also the excerpt of Anganok on here that we mentioned. This has the whole Prelude to the Ted's EP on it. I think this is the first time I actually heard those songs, was when I bought the Roosevelt album. Yeah, great little compilation. So yeah, weird lack of singing resident through all this stuff. I mean, we just went through 94, 95, 96, 97. So 4 years time with a bunch of stuff done. And he's just popping up. His vocals just pop up a couple times here and there. I never really noticed that. And I was kind of wondering, well, what's the deal? Was he off doing other things? Was there like drama involved? You know, it could be a lot of stuff. And I did end up checking in. I contacted the residents and I asked. They know I'm working on this video series. I try not to do that. I feel like it's really annoying. I try not, all the people that I know whose music I really like and I've been a fan of since I was a teenager that I've now, you know, kind of gotten to know through various bands and the record label and stuff. I try not to be annoying fanboy to them. That's, you know, I don't want to do that. So I very rarely will ask them stuff, whether it's, I was wondering about this missing singing resident thing. So I did end up contacting them and asking, and it's nothing super dramatic. They did respond. The story I got is no, he is there. He is very much involved. Yeah, it's just what they were interested in at the time was like gameplay and visuals and stuff like that. So that's it. And in the next episode, we'll see a big return of singing resident. We'll see a return of live performances. More of new female vocalists I pointed out in Gingerbread Man, and we'll see them actually become a band again for the first time since, depending what you consider a band. Like there's, you know, the full band Mole Show, there's kind of the slimmed down 13th anniversary show. But I mean, after that, they haven't really been a performing band, you know, since 87 when Snakefinger died. So that's going to come back and the residents are going to become a band again in the next episode.